Hello and welcome to Todd Rolls Dice, where we're very delayed. I do apologise, it's been a week, and then also I was kind of waiting for the second article of these to drop, and we're here now. We're here now to look at the preview for the pre-orders that have probably gone live an hour, a couple of hours ago. Hopefully you enjoy these. Let me know if there's anything that stands out for you in the comments below. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but we're going to focus on the Flesh Eater Courts first. And we have the usual two WarCom previews that give us a look at the Armies and Regiments of Renown. But first we will have a little look at the Battletome preview, is what I'm going to start calling these. But let's get into this one. Let the abhorrents impart their powerful delusions upon you, with new rules for the Flesh Eater Courts. So it is a new army rule. We're seeing a lot of new army rules in these current Battletomes. And 40k codexes as well, actually. Come, take a seat at the table of the Flesh Eater Courts. Thanks to the infectious delusion spread by the abhorrents, that pile of twitching corpses looks like a slap-up banquet, and you're invited to tuck right in. Each of those twisted vampiric abhorrents has their own particular flavour of mania, through which they view the world. When they congregate, the ebbing and flowing of their collective delusion warps the minds of their followers, a volatile shifting of perspective that forms the core of their faction rules in Battletome Flesh Eater Courts. In every turn, the Flesh Eater Courts fall under the sway of a specific delusion that alters how they perceive the battle. A kingdom deluded lets you choose I never thought I'd say delusion this many times so early on, I'll be honest. Lets you choose a delusion in the first turn of the battle, but after that you are partially at the whims of the dice. On a 1 or 2 you must pick a different delusion to the previous turn. On a 3 or a 4 you're forced to maintain that delusion even if the originator has perished, and on a 5 or a 6 you must pick as if it was your first turn again. Interesting and potentially quite restrictive. There are 2 delusions to choose from in your battle traits. A splendid pageant and a glorious banquet, but the rest are found on the war scrolls of abhorrent heroes. Right, so this is going to be a very hero-based army, and you're going to want to build around certain heroes and characters, probably, to get the delusions that you want for the threats that you're facing. I like this, just off the cuff thought. I quite like when hero characters have such a big sway on army building and personalization of your army. Yes, I'm all for this. We do have a look at a Kingdom Deluded, so it's a once per turn army, start of any turn ability. Declare, you must use this ability at the start of each turn. If it is the first turn of the battle, pick a delusion from these battle traits, or unless otherwise specified, from a war scroll of a friendly unit on the battlefield. If it is not the first turn, make a delusion roll of d6. Effect: on a delusion roll of 1 to 2 you must pick a different delusion to the one you picked last turn. On a 3 to 4 you must pick the same delusion as the one you picked last turn, even if it was on a war scroll of a unit that has been destroyed. On a 5 to 6 you must pick a delusion like you did in the first turn. For the rest of the turn you believe the delusion you picked. So pick a different delusion on a 1 to 2. It has to be different to the one that you just had, but you can pick any other. 3 to 4, you maintain the delusion that you had regardless of where it came from and if that character's still alive. 5 to 6, you can pick any delusion you want, including the one you had last turn. That's a very subtle difference to 1 to 2 and 5 to 6. Nice that there is a difference, but it's a very subtle difference. Most delusions take root quickly and spread to all the nobles in your army, a new normal overtaking their servants rapidly. In one moment the masses believe they are performing a splendid pageant, setting running rolls to a minimum of 4. That's useful for starting, getting up the board, and encouraging units of 5 or more infantry to obscure the aristocracy from enemy spells and ranged attacks. A little bit of bodyguard in there as well, cool. The next second, the court is in the midst of a glorious banquet, their gluttonous frenzy adding 1 to hit rolls for all units that charge that turn. Splendid pageant very much sounds like maybe turn 1, turn 2, getting up the board, getting in position, and then you're looking to switch it from there. Yeah, okay. They're both, from the previews here, they have use cases. The real meat on the bones is the way each character presents you with a feast of options as the battle progresses, as the one true king of the Carrion Court. Ursaran improves run and charge rolls for his followers, while his powerful maddening aura hampers those of his enemies. When all nearby serfs who stand their ground get anti-charge +1 rend, okay. As the epicenter of delusion, he can also sway the result of the delusion dice roll by 1 either way, giving you some control over the ever-shifting mania. So he's going to be an auto pick. 2 delusions previously mentioned, a glorious banquet, so this is one you'll have access to regardless of the characters that you take in your army. Keywords delusion, effect. While you believe this delusion, add 1 to hit rolls for combat attacks made by friendly Flesh Eater Courts units that have charged in the same turn while they are wholly within 12 inches of any friendly Flesh Eater Court heroes. So you're going to want lots of heroes, I think, seeded throughout your army at whatever size you play. And then the one true king, this is Ursaran's passive delusion. You will only get access if you take him. Effect. While you believe this delusion, add 1 to run rolls and charge rolls for friendly Flesh Eater Courts units. Very handy. Subtract 1 from run rolls and charge rolls from enemy units. Very nice. And the melee weapons used by friendly serfs units have anti-charge +1 rend while they are wholly within friendly territory and did not charge in the same turn. Not as useful, but for defending home objectives and things, not bad. I can see it being useful at certain points in the battle. Rakish and unpredictable, the High Falconer Felgrin, who is the new model there on the left, is considered a troublesome ne'er-do-well by the nobles, but the hoi polloi see him as a hero and well-known friend to all the common beasts of the kingdom. When Sir Felgrin is abroad, he emboldens downtrodden citizens and lowing creatures, so enemy units in combat with serfs, non-hero monsters, and beast units must subtract 10 from their control score. You're going to want to take him as well. Serfs, so building into serfs, you've got Ursaran, and then you've got this High Falconer, +1 rend anti-charge, and -10 to the control score against the unit that's fighting them. Those serfs are going to be very annoying. And they're probably going to stick around as well. Yeah, okay. I mean, he sounds annoying. That's a very nice ability. Far more reputable is Grand Justice Gormain, who pursues accusations of regicide with unimpeachable tenacity, integrity, and more than a bit of relish. The serfs and knights that constitute his jury are impelled to enact stern retributive justice should any nearby nobles be wounded by their barbaric foes, adding 1 to the damage characteristic of their melee weapon. Okay, so that's a bit more restrictive. Sir Felgrin is abroad. It's a passive delusion just for Sir Felgrin. Effect: while you believe this delusion, subtract 10 from the control scores of enemy units while they're in combat with any friendly serfs units or any friendly non-hero Flesh Eater Courts monster or beast units. Quite a lot of units you'll probably be taking in your army. So very useful. And then the Judge Gormain accusations of regicide. Again, passive delusion. Effect: while you believe this delusion, add 1 to the damage characteristic of melee weapons used by friendly serfs and knights units while they're wholly within 12 inches of any friendly Flesh Eater Court heroes that had any damage points allocated to them in the same turn. So it has to be same turn. The heroes that they're within 12 inches of have to take a wound. It could be useful. Extra damage is always nice, but we'll see. Initially, yes, it's good. I don't think it's quite as good, but I could be wrong on that, because like I say, extra damage is always nice. All of this does depend on points cost. Let me throw that out there as well, because if these heroes are quite expensive for what they do, you're not going to be able to take as many of them. We'll see. The other delusions may stem from the zealous orations of the Borant Cardinal, who helps his congregation weather the effects of magic and extinguish enemy manifestations, or the howls of an abhorrent ghoul king on Royal Zombie Dragon, who beseeches knights and monsters to perform thunderous charges. If Nagash chooses to join the cannibal kingdoms in battle, he displays godly contempt for the baffling fantasies his servants pursue, rendering him immune from all effects. Interesting, I like that. Lore-wise, it makes sense. but also it has a real effect on the board. If you take Nagash, he's big, powerful on his own, he doesn't really need the buffs, but he is immune from everything regardless, because he sees through it. He doesn't buy into the fantasies. Yeah, I like this. This all sounds fun and themey for the army. While delusions are the core rule for the army, other battle traits remain familiar. You'll still heal through royal blood and be able to enact a glorious feeding frenzy, though now it is a once per battle ability that requires a hero making the call to be in combat themselves. So a slight nerf there probably. Once per turn your nobles can also still muster guard to return bodies to their serfs and knights, very useful. And for a command point, you can still summon loyal subjects to summon a half-strength unit from the battlefield edge. That's an ability, command point ability, that we've seen quite a lot in the earlier armies. I don't know if it's in the more newer Battletomes, but the Dark Oath can definitely do something like that. I don't think it's for a command point, it might be a leadership ability. But that kind of ability of bringing back a unit at half strength to give you something a little bit extra is fairly common in AOS, so it's nice to see that back. With 9 heroes contributing to the mass mania of the Flesh Eater Courts, you'll need to choose wisely while constructing your army to ensure you have the right abilities available. Battletome Flesh Eater Courts is going to be available now, alongside the High Falcon of Felgrin, who I kind of like his model, I kind of like his rule actually. This all sounds interesting. Again, I'm not a player of the Death faction. I don't know anything about Flesh Eater Courts or Nighthaunt when we get onto those. I really do like the Flesh Eater Court models. Their revamp last edition was such a nice box, wasn't it, with all the new models? And this is all just weird, quirky. I think that they've really figured out an aesthetic for them as well. The Falconer completely builds into that crazy idea of still believing they're human elements, but it's just twisted and grotesque, and yeah, brilliant. So this all sounds pretty interesting. With 9 heroes, each one will have a delusion, I would guess, and then bigger characters doing more things with their delusions. It is going to make army building quite interesting. It sounds like it could be pretty strong. There's some nice stuff that we've seen here. Again, this is a preview to give you an idea of why you should buy the book, so maybe don't take anything on face value with these articles. But yeah, there's some nice stuff here. I like what I'm seeing, and I don't see anything too game breaking, but it does sound strong. But it also sounds very similar to abilities and army rules and things that we already have in current armies and Battletomes. So who knows? It'll be interesting to see how they land. But that's the new army rule. Let's jump over and have a look at their Armies and Regiments of Renown, as knightly bannermen join a riotous bacchanal in the Flesh Eater Court's Armies and Regiments of Renown. The wish to believe we are something more is universal. Who can blame the deluded ghouls of the Flesh Eater Courts for imagining they are the citizens of a prosperous kingdom, rather than scraping around in the muck and gore of a nightmarish carnal realm? The abhorrent vampire nobles are the font of this warping delusion, swaying the masses with their own misguided perspective. When certain preeminent abhorrents take to the battlefield, they can mutate the delusion beyond its usual volatile nature, mustering an army of renown that behaves uniquely. So Ushran is going to have an army of renown by the looks of it. When Ushran is in one of his more belligerent moods, he may rouse the Knights of New Summercourt. Delegation comprised of non-unique abhorrents and nobles who charge into battle alongside knights, Varghulf courtiers and lowly serfs. Once per battle, they may follow in their sire's shadow. 2 units cleaving close to the Mad King for the price of a single charge roll. That's handy, so long as they end their valiant maneuver within close proximity of their hulking Mortarch. So he charges, and then as long as they can charge and be next to him, that 1 charge roll does 2 units. That feels like a unique ability. That's really cool. The Nightmarish Charge passive ability forces enemies to falter in their defense, subtracting 1 from hit rolls from charged units making offence the best defence for those gore-smeared chevaliers. So the Knights of New Summer Court, once per battle army any charge phase, in their sire's shadow. Declare when the friendly Ursharan is not in combat and has not used any run or retreat abilities this turn, pick that Ursharan and up to 2 friendly New Summer Court Knights units within his combat range that are not in combat and have not used any run or retreat abilities this turn to be the targets. Then make a charge roll of 2d6. So as long as they've not ran, retreated, or in combat, and they're within his control range, they charge with him. So it's the 3 units, Ursharan, and the 2 units within his control range that meet those. That's really strong. It is only 2d6, so it's not as good as a 3d6 charge, but being able to move 3 units up the board, that's pretty good. Effect: the targets can each move a distance up to the value of the charge roll. They can move through the combat ranges of enemy units, but must end within half an inch of a visible enemy unit. The friendly Ursharan must move before any other targets, and each target must end that move within Ursharan's combat range. If the friendly Ursharan is unable to end that move within 12 inches of a visible enemy unit, none of the targets can move. If they move, the targets have charged. Keywords: core, move, and charge. So there are some restrictions in there, and visibility and half an inch should be doable. AOS is quite forgiving, but you've got to really pile things in close, haven't you? And Ursharan has to move first, which makes sense and is how it should be played if it didn't say that, honestly. It sounds useful though. I'm not entirely sure you'll be rushing to take out him and his summer court, but in certain situations it could be a fun little rule. When the notion of questing abroad bubbles in the fore of Ursharan's swirling mind, he may play the part of the somber paladin, inviting a worthy foe into single combat with a strident challenge. A duel, good sir! Should the enemy general accept, they are forced to target only Ursharan in combat. If they refuse, the imagined indignity forces them to strike last. Interesting. I really like this idea of single duels between heroes and things. I think Heresy, it's very wordy, but that side of the Heresy rule, that's something I'd love to see explored in 40k and certainly AOS. I like this. With their monarch leading so valiantly from the front, the Red Errantry hosts are drawn into battle in order to prove themselves worthy of his attention. Banners of knights that have been wiped out are replenished by roving bands of cavalry, replacing destroyed units with half-strength reinforcements near the battlefield's edge. So, a duel, good sir, once per turn army any combat phase. Declare you must use this ability if the friendly Ursharan is in combat with the enemy general. Pick the enemy general to be the target. Effect: your opponent must decide whether the target will accept or refuse Ursharan's challenge. Accept for the rest of the turn when the friendly Ursharan and the target are picked. Use a fight ability, all their attacks must target each other. Refuse, the target has strike last for the rest of the turn. You're probably going to accept. And then the other ability, Red Errantry Hosts. Once per turn, army your movement phase. Once per turn, that's pretty nice. Declare, pick a friendly knights unit that has been destroyed to be the target. Effect: set up a replacement unit with half the number of models from the target unit, rounding up wholly within friendly territory, wholly within 6 inches of the battlefield edge and more than 9 inches from all enemy units. That's a nice ability as well, and he just gets to do all of this stuff. The new Summer Court sounds pretty good actually. It depends how strong Ursharan is, because if he's going to run into a charge and then just get thumped, it's probably pointless. But there's just this themey feel and vibe to it, isn't it? Just walking up and saying, hey, let's have a scrap. Yeah, that's probably my favourite rule we've seen for quite a while. There are others at court whose delusions are almost as persuasive, such as High Falconer Felgrin, who can summon serfs and beasts alike to join him at the Equinox Feast. This band of revelers is made up of the peasant classes and non-unique, non-hero monsters. Each battle round is accompanied by the ability representing the phases of the intoxicating festival. At first, the party greets the foreign revelers, adding 1 to their run roll, while any jubilant attendees who have stumbled into danger may retreat an extra d6 inches. In the second battle round, Felgrin leads his falconers in the display of avian artistry, though guests are advised to be careful not to get gouged or pecked by these low-flying birds of prey. Okay, I'm not entirely sure what we're getting at here. It sounds brilliant, it sounds fun and themey and just ridiculously stupid, but I'm not entirely sure what we're getting at here. Passive, the Equinox Parade. Effect, in the first battle round, add 1 to run rolls for friendly Equinox Feast units for each other friendly Equinox unit that has used a run ability this phase. Okay. And then add d6 to the distance friendly Equinox Feast units can move when they use a retreat ability. I think that's more handy. The run thing is nice, and first turn getting up the field, I get it. Yeah, it's quite... You've got to be planning to run a few units to get the most out of that ability. Let's put it that way. In the third battle round, you may double the pile-in move for units with champions, musicians, and standard bearers, ensuring everyone is in position for the most important moment, the feast itself. With a cry of "Eat your fill," the hungry merrymakers tear into their meal, healing every time they fight. So we have passive, the ritual dance. Effect, in the third battle round, while a friendly Equinox Feast unit is in combat with an enemy unit that contains any champions, musicians, or standard bearers, it can move 6 inches instead of 3 when it makes a pile-in move. Generally just nice. It gives them a good extra area of threat. Pretty good. And then we have the passive Eat Your Fill. Effect, in the fourth battle round, each time a friendly Equinox Feast unit uses a fight ability, after that ability has been resolved, if that unit is damaged, heal d3 that unit, and if the unit is not damaged, return up to 3 slain models to it. That's really nice. So you either heal or you can just bring models back. Yeah, good. Very strong. It's late into the battle, but that's very nice. Regiments of Renown present non-flesh eater court armies with 2 choices: a winged terror from the skies, or the slow but inevitable justice delivered by the Scarlet Jury. So the Scarlet Jury is a box that is up for pre-order at the minute. Not entirely sure how quickly it's going to sell out, but if you're interested in it, you want those models, it is available. Led by Grand Justice Gormain, this Scarlet Jury can be included in any death army, while armies from the cities of Sigmar, Caradron Overlord, Slaves to Darkness, and Destruction can hire his sham court. Why though? The juries are all warped by Gormain's accusations of regicide delusion, meaning the judge will need to risk his neck to get the most out of his followers. Think of it as convenient evidence to help ensure a guilty verdict. Other death armies may also bait an equally ravenous Royal Terrorgeist into battle. The horror of Hallow's Watch is unable to resist charging into the nearest combat to slake its thirst for a moment, while its ear-splitting shrieks grow louder as it pulverizes foes with sonic assaults. So this Royal Terrorgeist has to charge. Sounds like it gets some healing off the back of that though. Interesting. I mean, it feels like there's quite a lot here, but then there's normally 2, isn't there? 2 regiments and then 2 armies. So Armies of Renown, you've got your Terrorgeist, which we know very little about, and the Scarlet Jury, for some reason, can join quite a lot of different types of armies, but again, we don't really know much about it. We know what the accusations of regicide is, we've just covered it, but still not that useful for the Regiments of Renown. But... and I feel like the High Falconer's Army of Renown is purely just to sell more of those models, but it sounds interesting. I like just the whimsical nature of this weird feast that they're going to, and the parade and dancing around and the bird show, and yeah, it's weird, it's creepy, it's hilarious. This is the kind of thing you want from the Flesh Eater courts. I like the rules, and it just feels like Ursharan, whether you take him as part of your army, or you use him in a Regiment of Renown. Sorry, Army of Renown. Regiment of Renown, whichever way it is, whichever one he was. He's got some really nice things there. He's an army, isn't he? Army of Renown. He's got some pretty interesting rules to get the most out of what you take. And I really like the duel. That's such a cool little rule. Interesting stuff here, not enough to get me interested in actually picking up some models and playing them. I definitely think that they have taken the ideas of Flesh Eater courts, they've kind of marinated over them a little bit, and then they have put this Battletome together to purely play into that delusion idea of what they think they are against the grotesque nature that they already have and what they have become. I like what I'm hearing, I like what I'm seeing. Not enough to get me interested in the faction, but I think if you are interested in the faction or you are playing the faction already, I think there's quite a lot in here to like. And it sounds pretty strong. Some of it sounds strong anyway. Some of the army rules and the delusions sound really tasty. But let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.